This is Gemara in Sotah, Daf Chaf. I'm holding on Chaf and Aleph, 3 lines from the top, as the Gemara says, Ibai Lahu. Before we begin, just a clerical piece of information. As we did last summer, we're going to be pre-recording the Daf for Tammuz and Av. So anyone who has a yahrzeit, an occasion, or something that they like to share the schus of spreading Torah, please reach out, as those Dafim are going to be recorded prematurely in order that we have them up during the summer where we might not be able to record daily. So we pick it up, Chaf Amid Aleph, Ibai Lahu, asks the Gemara, we just finished Trei Tanoi Alibad Rabbi Akiva, that the Shitas Rabbi Akiva is that there's a potential that if the Sotah says, I'm not drinking, what does that really mean? You got to read between the lines. And what the Sotah is really teaching us is that she's guilty, is that she committed the crime. So I asked the Gemara, if she says she's not drinking due to briusa, due to soundness, which we already learned yesterday, means that she's admitting that she indeed did the crime, and then that she says, you know what? I'll drink it. Mahu, what's the din? He said to Me'ani Kamra, do we say her saying I won't drink is tantamount to her saying I'm Tameh? And therefore what? And once she established a chazaka, she created a reality that she is Tameh, she can't retract on that statement. Or perhaps, or perhaps because she says now I want to drink. That showed us the machmas b'yisuso damra. That why originally did she refuse? We thought that she refused. Why was due to b'yisusa, which we said meant is a form of admission. But maybe now it shows us that no, the real reason she didn't drink originally was b'yisusa. Excuse me. We thought originally, I think I said that wrong, because of briusa, that she was guilty. But maybe now it's showing us that she was just scared b'yisusa. Says the Gemara, Teiku, this one is going to have to wait for Eliyahu Hanavi. Ravu Shmuel, the father of Shmuel says, another ingredient has to be placed. As Rashi says, something bitter. We already put dirt in the water. We already erased the Megillah Sait in the water. Now says Avod Shmuel, make sure the water is bitter. Why? My Taima says the Gemara Damar Kra Mei Hamarim. The Torah calls it the Mei Hamarim, the bitter waters. Shemarim Kvar, which means they're already bitter before they erased the scroll of the Sotah into it. And therefore, we see that there must be something bitter that was placed inside these waters, says the din of Avu Adishmuel. We continue with the Mishnah, about 13 lines down. Chaf Amid Aleph, says the Mishnah, what happens to the Sotah that doesn't want to drink? Ad Shaloi Nimchaka, before she agrees to drink HaMegillah, Amraini Shaiseh, she says, I don't want to drink Megilta. What? Any Shaisa, excuse me. Megilta Nignezesu Minchasa Misparezes Eladeshen. What do we do with the Megillah? She's not drinking. We take the Megillah and we bury it. What do we do with the Karban Mincha? We spread over the ashes. The Karban Mincha on the ashes. Ve'ein Megilta Gesher Lahashka Saita Acharis. And the Megillah has to be buried. It cannot be used for another Saita. But what happens, Nimcha Megillah, let's say the Megillah was already raised, and then she admits, I did it. Terrible crime. She gets divorced. She doesn't get her ksuba, but at least she's not going to die a gruesome death. Now what do? We pour out the waters, and the mincha is spread out over the ashes. Now, case number 3, Nimcha Megillah, the Megillah was already erased. And then she says, then she says, I don't want to drink. She refuses the din that we saw in the previous Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, Ma'arin Oisa. We force her, Mashkin Oisa Bal Karcha. We force the water upon her and we make her drink. Continues the Mishnah. So she drinks the waters. Now what happens if indeed she is guilty? She doesn't even have the potential, the time to finish drinking. Ad shapanel mayrikais. Her face turns green, her face turns pale. Now boltois, her eyes are bulging out. Mismalas gidin. And what happens? And her veins start protruding. Vehem imrim. And the Kayanim would scream out, Haitziua! Take her out to make sure she doesn't die here in the base. We don't want there to be a mace in the Hazara. We don't want there to make the Hazara tummy. But continues the Mishnah to a din that we've seen prior. She had some sort of schos, which we're going to learn. What was this schos? It would hold her back. Yesh schos toila shana achas. Yesh schos toila beis shanim. Yesh schos toila gimel shanim. Depending on her schosim, will leave Berenta from dying for 1, 2, or 3 years. Mikan Amr ben Azai, from here Ben Azai says, we're going to see what exactly is the progression of the Mishnah. What is this din of Ben Azai that we see over here? But says Ben Azai, Chayav Adam Lumos Bitay Taira. Why? A person should teach their daughter Torah. Why? So she should know that Chosim will help her. That she should know that she should do Chosim, do mitzvahs. So in the eventuality that she commits a crime, she'll not die right away. Rav Lazar Aimer, no. Kamala made Bitay Torah, Ilu or Limda Tiflis. You're teaching her Tiflis, which literally is physical intimacy. We have to understand what that means. Rav Yeshua Aimer, writes Isha b'kav v'tiflis. A woman rather only a kav of food, but v'tiflis, she wants the physical intimacy. Mitas kabin uprishos, from 9 kabin, and abstinence, no physical intimacy. Huay Aimer concludes the Mishnah that Rav Yeshua would say, Chasid shaita, v'rasha arum, v'isha prusha, u'makais prushin, harei elu bibale oilam. These are that which ruin and destroy the world. 4 categories of people that the Gemara is going to have to explain. The Chasid Shaita, the one who claims to be a Chasid, but he's really a Shaita. The Rasham, but he's Arum, he's cunning. The Isha Prusha, that she abstains for some reason. Umaka is Prushin, and the wounds of those who abstain. And with that, we dive straight into the Gemara, in which the Gemara begins with the process of erasing the Sotah's Megillah. Amar Rav Yudah Amar Shmuel Mishum Rav Meir. Kshisi Lai Me'etayra Eitel Rav Akiva Haisi Matel Kan Kanton L'Toichad Yoi. And let's be precise in the story who's talking where and where he was. As we're going to see, there might be a slight nuance of issue with the historical facts of the story. Okay, apologies. Says Rav Yudah Amar Shmuel. In the name of Rameir. When he learned Torah by Rabbi Akiva, he would put kantoim. For those that remember, this is something that makes the ink not able to be erased into the DI when you would write a Sefer Torah. V'lo really David Rabbi Akiva said nothing. Shabbos eats of Shmuel. So now Rameir comes, or Rav Yudah Amar Shmuel, I should say, comes to Rabbi Yishmael. Amar le b'ni mamalachcha. What do? Amar loi lavler ani am a scribe. Amar li b'ni have a zoyer shemlachtecha melecha shemayim. Be careful. You're doing God's work. Shematach zoris achas. Oitater is achas. If you detract a letter, if you add on a letter, nimsat amachav es kolam kulai, you could distort the meaning of the Torah and thereby destroy the whole world. Amarti loi davar achar yeshli, and then I responded that there is something else that I had. Rameir says, Rav Yudah Amar Shmuel name Rameir. Shani matel tochad tiyovi kankantim shemai. I would put this kankantim into the ink. Amar leave chimatal ketendin adoicha. Are you allowed to? Hatayra Amar of the Torah says umacha. It says regarding this site you have to erase it. From there we learn sav shayucha limchais, a writing that's able to be erased. So that's the end of the story. A beginning, Rameir comes to Rabbi Akiva, then Rameir goes to Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Akiva seemingly did not take issue with anything, whereas Rabbi Yishmael did. So it says the Gemara, what was this conversation between Rabbi Yishmael and Rameir? Hachi kamra lei, says the Gemara. Loi mi bay b'chaseres v'yiseres the bakiani. Rameir responds. Not only do you, Rabbi Yishmael, don't be worried, I'm a baki. In chaseres v'yiseres, I make sure there's no letters lacking or adding. Ella. But rather, as well, on the first white line, I'm not even worried about a fly dropping on that which I'm writing. What would be the concern? The Dilma the fly might come, Yosef Ataga the Dalit. It's going to sit on the roof of the Dalit, and erase it, and it'll look like a reish. Why am I not concerned? Because end of story. Ask the Gemara, Ini, is the aforementioned true? Vatani of Rav Meir, Kshishi like Meir, Teirei, to Rabbi Yishmael, let's not go to the Kantoim, Letoich Hadiyai, V'loi Amar Li Davar. The Brisa says that it was in front of Rabbi Yishmael. He said nothing. And then, Rabbi Kiva Asar Alai. So we have the story now in the reverse. So which way was it? Says the Gemara, Kasha Shimush Hashimush, Kasha Asara Asara. Question is, who did he serve first? Who is he meshamish first? And question number 2 is, Kasha Asra Al Asra. Which was the one that made it Asra, and who was the one that said, this kankantum is okay? So explains the Gemara, 4 lines to the end of the Amid. First Ramir learned Rabbi Akiva. Came to Lamatzi, he saw it wasn't working, Kamali Bey. Also came to Rabbi Yishmael. So then he went to Rabbi Yishmael. V'gamar Gemara, and then he went back. Hadas came to Rabbi Akiva, and then he came back to Rabbi Akiva. Savar Savra, he went back to Rabbi Akiva, and he was able to learn appropriately. So says the Gemara, Ela Asr Kasha. But what about the fact, who was one that said it's Asr, Rabbi Yishmael or Rabbi Akiva, conflicting stories? Says the Gemara, Kasha, that's indeed a good question. And the last line of Chafam and Aleph, Tanya Amr Rabbi Yudah Omer. Omer would say, Kankantum l'toich hadiyai. For everything you're able to put the kankantum, you're able to put this ingredient into the ink, which thereby makes it that it does not get erased. Chotz mi parshas Sotah bilvad. Parsha Sotah is the only area of the Torah that you cannot put this in. Rav Yaakov Aimer Mishmai, Chotz mi Parsha Sotah shel Mikdash. Not just any Parsha Sotah, but the Parsha Sotah of the Beis HaMikdash. And with that, says the Gemara, so we have 2 stories. In which parts were they makpid not to put the kankantum? And we turn over, we're now Chafam and Beis, with 3 lines into the Gemara, in which the Gemara asks, "My beinayu, what's the difference of these 2 ways of learning? Whether it's chutz for the parsha Sotah or whether it's chutz for the parsha Sotah, the Beis Hamikdash?" Amar Rav Yirmiyah, lemchayik lo min ha'Torah ikabeinayu. A reference that we've had all the way back in the Gemara in Eruvin. Are you allowed to utilize part of the Sefer Torah itself and erase that for the Sotah? And the Gemara says, these Tanoim are like the following Tanoim. The Tanya, as we learned in a Brisa 5 lines down, Ein Megillah Kesher Lahashkes B'Sotah Acheres. One Megillah can be used for a different Sotah. It could be used for another Sotah. So seemingly we see that according to Rav Achi Bar Yeshaya, you do not have to write the Megillah for the specific woman. Amar Rav Papa, says Rav Papa, what are you talking about? 10 lines down, the first one line is Papa. Del Malayi, maybe it's not true. Ad Kam no Kamer Tanakama, the Tanakama didn't say the din Asam Elikim the Inkik L'Shem Rachel. Since the get, or since the Parsha Sotah was written for one woman, therefore it cannot be utilized for a different woman. Avol Torah. But in our case, we're discussing a Sefer Torah. Tistama Ksiva is not written for anyone in particular. Maybe you could utilize it, so not necessarily is our machlokes like that machlokes. Number of Nachbar Yitzchak, a second reason why the 2 machlokes might not be comparable. is only by the Megillah, which is written for the curse. It's written for a Sotah. It's not sure which one. Aval Torah, the Islamic Sivas are written for the Sotah, is all just written to learn. Maybe you'd agree that you cannot utilize it for the Parshas Sotah. And that is the Gemara's two reasons why we cannot equate our machlekes to the machlekes over there, whether there is a din of lishma when we write. Says the Gemara, Ravachi bar Yeshaya Lesle. Ask the Gemara 1 second. Ravachi bar Yeshaya said, Megillah Ksher Lashkas Sotah Acheres. You're allowed to utilize the Megillah site of another site. Ask the Gemara. He doesn't hold because of the Garish's Ishtoi. Someone writes a get to divorce his wife and then he finds someone else with the same name and he says, oh, you know what? I'll sell you a get for cheap. What's the halacha? Pasul ligarishba. You're not allowed to use it for gerushin. So according to Rav Yishaya, why not? He learned there's no din of lishma written for this specific person. Explains the Gemara, Amri, and therefore, being in Ksiva Lishma has to be written for the appropriate reasons. Achanami, V'asala, Mayasiya, Lishma, ask the Gemara, Achanam V'asala, answers the Gemara, Mayasiya, Mechika. You're right. There is a din of Lishma by the Sotah, but what is the din of Lishma? Explains the Gemara. The din of Lishma is going to be in the Mechika, in the erasing of the Megillas Sotah. We continue smack in the middle of Chafam Beis, in which we quote the Mishnah, the process of this woman dying, that while she's in the middle of drinking, her face turns pale and her eyes start bulging. Says the Gemara, Mani Rav Shimoni, who is the Tan of our Mishnah that says that the water takes effect right when the woman drinks. It's Rabbi Shimon. The Rav Shimon holds you first bring the carbon and then you drink the waters. The comment all carbon minchasa leibad kilamayim, because before the mincha is brought, the water doesn't check. The chsev mincha zikara maskeres oven. But ask the Gemara, so he's saying the first part of the Mishnah is Rav Shimon. If she has a schos, she wouldn't die right away, and the waters wouldn't kill her right away. Says the Gemara, asking the Rabbanan. That part of the Mishnah is going to the Rabbanan. Rav Shimon holds. So what do you do with that into the Mishnah? We have a steer, is it the Rabbanan or is it Rav Shimon? Answers the Gemara, Rav Chisda Mani Rav Yekiva. He damer makar zimin chasa, v'achar mashkeu b'schos, saver la kirabbanan. Rabbi Kiva holds a middle ground, shita, between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Yishmael. We continue about 25 lines at the bottom of Chafam and Beis, the two dots, in which the Gemara says, V'heim oimrim mitziua, and the Kahanim would scream out to remove her from the Beis HaMikdash. We don't want to be mitamed azara. Says the Gemara, my taima, the Doma Mesa, maybe she's going to die. Lemeimra, so says Gemara, really? Lemeimra, the Mesa, also in Machna Leviyah, so it sounds like, as we thought when we read the Mishnah, that a Mesa now to be a Machna Leviyah. Vatanya, but we learned in a Braisa, Tamei Mes, Mutter Lechlois the Machna Leviyah. Not only Tamei Mes, Amru Ella Afilu Mes Atzmai. Shnemar V'Chamosh Atzmai Desivimai, Yimai Mechitzasai within the Machna Leviyah. So if the bones of Yosef could be there, therefore any Tumah should to be there of the Tamei Mes. Amar Abaye, Shema Tifrais Nida. No, the reason why we scream to take her out is not because she might die, because we're afraid that she might become an Nida due to the fear. Lemeimer Dibisusa Marapaya. Says the Gemara, this seems to say that when she's scared, her body loosens up and the dam is going to fall out. In the Chseva Taschalchal Malka Ma'oyin, as we see by Esther, that she became a Nida. V'amarav Shabir Sanida. Ask Gemara further, Vanan, Tanan Charada Misalekes Damim. But we've learned that the Charada, the fear, causes her blood to be removed. Not like you're saying that it caused there to be extra blood. Answers the Gemara, Pachla Samis Visusa Marpaya. The Pachad, the fear makes them contract, and then there'll be no blood, but B'Yisusa, sudden fright will be indeed merape, will indeed cause her to have potentially see her period. Yesh los chos ha'isa v'chulu, says the Gemara Mani Masni, son, who is this Tana of the Mishnah that says she could potentially be Toila b'schos for 3 years? Says the Gemara Lo Yosef ben Chanan v'Lo ben Yitzchak ish kvar doraim v'lo Rabbi Yishmael. Can't be any of these 3 big Jews. Why not? The Tanya, as we learned in a Brisa, 10 lines to the end of Chavim Abis. Em yesh los chos Toila shlosh chadashim. She has a schos, we can assume she'll live for 3 years, get that car, so 3 months, like the recognition of the Ober, the fetus takes 3 months, Divrei Abba Yosef ben Chanan. V'los ben Yitzchak ish kvar dara maimer tes chadashim, shenamar, but in case even a Zara. Well, Allah no aimer, Zara Abdu, it's for Zara. Zara haru yilisaber, which is 9 months. Rishmal aimer, shnayim asu chaydesh, es shnayim asu chaydesh, 12 months. V'afal bishin raya l'davar. Zeich l'davar d'chsev Elohein malcha malkei yishbar alayeh v'chatoyich b'tzedakah. Proig v'avizeich v'michan inyin. Redeem your aveiros with tzedakah. V'avyasach v'michan anyon, and your aveiros and your iniquities will be gracious, will be chasadim to the poor. We turn over to Chaval Vav and Aleph. We can conclude today's shir as the Gemara says, end of the pasuk, "Hein to have a araka lishloi saich." That it will be an extension of the time that you're living. Uksev kalu tamay al Nebuchadnezzar malka, as the pasuk says, all the punishments came on Nebuchadnezzar. Uksev, the pasuk says, loksa yarchin trei asar. The pasuk says that at the end of 12 months, so what do we see? We see, because he didn't listen to Daniel, therefore, what was he punished for? 1 year. So says the Gemara, we don't see anywhere that the Sotah could hold back her death for 3 years. La'ilam Rabbi Yishmael, says the Gemara, Vashcha Kra, Rabbi Yishmael found the pasuk Damar V'tani, Dechsev Koyim Hashem al Shisha Pishei Edoin. My Aval Bishein Raya L'Davar Zeich L'Davar Del Mashayni Oiv Dechavim Tol Mafkid Dina Alayu, that they don't come to court cases, and therefore maybe that's the reason why you can't learn from it. We'll pick it up from the 2 dots the next year. B'siyata Dishmaya.